It had only been a month and a half, just 45 agonizing days since I lost David. My husband. My partner for 5 incredible years, 3 of them married. We were supposed to be starting a family, building our future. Instead, a tragic road accident ripped him away from me, and I was just trying to breathe again, trying to piece together the shattered remains of my life. I was in a fragile, raw place, you know? The kind of grief that makes every morning feel like climbing a mountain. Then, about 2 weeks after David's funeral, as if the universe hadn't taken enough from me, my stepmom, Brenda, decided to drop a bomb. She came over to my house with my dad, Robert, saying she needed to speak to both of us. And that's when it happened. She started crying, really laying it on thick, claiming she and David had been having an affair. A full-blown affair, for months. And that she was 4 months pregnant with his baby. She said she'd originally planned to keep it a secret, but now, with David gone, she just couldn't. The kicker? She expected me to step up and fulfill David's supposed promise to take care of their baby, financially. I just stood there, stunned. Child support? From me? For a baby she claimed was David's, after accusing him of cheating on me, in his grave? My first reaction was, proof. Show me any proof. And she had nothing. Absolutely nothing. She said they communicated through messages and emails but always deleted everything. Really? A serious affair, planning to leave their partners, and not a single shred of evidence left behind? It just didn't compute. But for some reason, Robert, my own father, bought it. He actually believed her. I told Brenda, in no uncertain terms, that I didn't believe a word she was saying. And there was no way I was funding any baby that wasn't David's. Because I knew it wasn't his. To claim such a disgusting thing, slandering his memory when he couldn't defend himself, it was beyond cruel. I knew David. I knew he loved me. And frankly, Brenda just wasn't his type. Even if, hypothetically, he would ever cheat, which he wouldn't, it wouldn't be with her. She's in her early 40s, David was in his late 20s, like me. He saw her as part of my dad's generation, not someone he'd ever be attracted to. You just know these things about your partner, deep down. So, I knew she was lying. That day, Robert started yelling at Brenda. They got into this huge fight right there in my living room, and he stormed out. But Brenda stayed. She actually turned to me and said I had to help her because Robert wouldn't support her now, and I was more financially stable. I was furious. I just told her to leave. She didn't go easily, I practically had to throw her out. The next day, she took to social media. Posted about the whole thing, painted herself as this wronged victim, and somehow, my family, her family, everyone, started hounding me. They said I owed it to David, to her, to the baby. That I was heartless if I didn't support this child. It was insane. How was I the villain here? I was still grieving, and they were piling this emotional garbage on top. I tried to ignore it, but the hate, the pressure, it became unbearable. So, a couple of weeks later, I contacted Brenda. I told her I would support her completely if she could prove it was David's baby. She needed a paternity test. The indignation. The humiliation. She posted about that too, and the harassment intensified. But I held firm. I needed clarity. Last week, I finally demanded she get the test done and send me the results. I even provided David's personal items for the testing. 3 days passed. Then 4. She wouldn't respond. I kept calling, kept texting, until she finally sent me a screenshot. And then immediately blocked me. It was exactly what I knew. The baby wasn't David's. The vindication, it was a potent, bittersweet rush. Without a second thought, I posted that screenshot on social media. No explanation, just the proof. I didn't care if she sued me, I knew I was right. But instead of silence, people doubled down. They started saying, well, if it's not David's, then it must be Robert's. Brenda must have been confused. And somehow, I still needed to step up to make up for the trauma she'd supposedly endured. It was utterly ridiculous. My husband's memory was still being dragged through the mud. I lost it. I made another post, a really angry one, telling everyone I wasn't supporting anyone, financially or otherwise. If they didn't like it, they could leave me alone. I was grieving, and they were slandering David. I used some colorful language, targeting Brenda, words I won't repeat now but were directed at women of questionable morals. People, of course, were even angrier. My few remaining allies, even they said the name-calling was unnecessary. But to me, it felt incredibly necessary. Nobody understood what I'd been through, how hard it was to fight these baseless accusations while still mourning. Brenda started it. Why was my retaliation wrong? I eventually took both posts down. I realized it didn't matter what I posted, people would believe what they wanted. If they wanted to think David was a cheat, I was heartless, and Brenda was a victim, they would. I figured it out, though. It wasn't about the baby or David. It was about something else entirely. David and I had been really successful. We quit our jobs a few months after we married and built a lifestyle brand from the ground up. It's been doing really well, especially in the last year. We were the first in our family to really make it. And I think that fueled a lot of resentment. My family, including Robert, always talked about our money, but never with pride, always with a hint of bitterness. Brenda even used it against me, saying I had more money than Robert, so I should pay. They wanted a reason to hate me, and Brenda served it up on a platter. I don't need to prove anything to them anymore. My husband had nothing to do with that baby, and in my heart, I know he never betrayed me. People can believe what they want, and so can I. The last few weeks have been harder than even coming to terms with David's loss. I'm on my own now. Robert, my dad, he stopped speaking to me too. Even if he knows the truth about the baby, he just stopped. Why? Even if David had done what Brenda claimed, which he didn't, why would I be punished? A month after all that, Robert tried to reach out. An email, apologizing, saying he was in a bad place. I was finally moving on, and I didn't want to get pulled back in. But he's my dad, and I've already lost my mom and David. I called him, and he invited me for dinner. I thought it would just be us, that he must have left Brenda. I assumed they'd separated after that fight. I was wrong. Brenda opened the door. The surprise on her face mirrored mine. It took me a few seconds, but the realization hit me, she was still with him. I turned around and walked straight back to my car. There was no way I was sitting down for dinner with her after everything. Robert called relentlessly. 6 missed calls, a bunch of texts. When I got home and finally answered, he started explaining that he and Brenda had sorted things out. That she'd come back to him. He claimed he'd forgotten to tell me. Forgotten? A detail like that? After what she put me through. I told him I didn't believe him. He begged me to come back, said Brenda had things to say, that we could all clear the air. But what was there to clear? I'd given him a chance, and he blew it. I hung up. I blocked him everywhere. I was done. A couple more weeks passed. No contact. Then, today, Robert showed up at my door. With Brenda. Again. I had made it so clear I hated her, that I wanted nothing to do with her. Why would he bring her? I just looked through the peephole and knew I wasn't letting them in. But they kept ringing. Robert started pleading, saying he didn't want to lose me, begging me to open the door. Then he brought up my mom. That she would have wanted us to talk it out. That hit a nerve. I flung the door open. I yelled at him. He had no right to use Mom to manipulate me. It worked, though. I let them in. He apologized for using Mom, but said he had no other way to get me to open the door. Then they told me the real story. The long and short of it? I was right. It was all about money. Robert's business wasn't doing well, he was retiring soon, and Brenda was used to a certain lifestyle. Out of desperation, she made up the entire affair story. When that blew up, she went back to Robert. He demanded a paternity test. And this time, it was positive. The baby was his. So now they had this miracle baby, and they wanted my emotional support. Not financial, just emotional and forgiveness. I told them to get out. There was no way I was forgiving them. This wasn't desperation, it was pure greed, and a disgusting smear on David's memory. If they needed money, they could have asked. Instead, she chose to defame my deceased husband. I'm not even sure I believe the desperation story fully. I think she probably had an affair with someone else, got caught, and somehow the baby ended up being Robert's, which made everything forgivable in their eyes. But not in mine. David was dragged into this, even after he was gone. I told them if they didn't leave, I'd call the cops. Robert got hysterical, but I eventually got them out. I had to call the police in the end. It was hard to do all this alone, but I did. I'm filing a restraining order. I'm just going to pretend I don't have parents anymore. It's been a couple of months since then. I've been trying my best to move on. I moved away, to Arizona, to expand my business. I brought on a friend as a partner to handle things back home. It's going well. I know David would be proud. My family? I have no idea what they're up to, but some friends told me Robert and Brenda welcomed their miracle baby a few weeks ago. Good for them, I guess. I don't care anymore. I have a restraining order, and I don't intend to ever have anything to do with them again. My life is finally peaceful. What would you have done in my position?